human trafficking, they say, is a $32 billion business. I'm excited about supporting and working with people who care about the positive and saying the negative at the same time. But it's not a fairy tale. If it looks too good to be true, it is too good to be true. Nothing is ever exactly what you think it is. It's a very complex ecosystem. We need to bring things out into the light. We need to talk about them. We got to call things what they are. We have to say that these things happen, see each other as human, band together. And when a lot of people are stepping together, we fly forward.
So talk about how you guys tackle this problem. Hello and very welcome to the Human Future Podcast. This is the show where we explore the fascinating intersection of accelerating technology, human consciousness, and the actionable steps that we can take today to contribute to a desirable human future. My name is Kirill. I'm so glad that you're here, and I hope you enjoy this episode. Welcome, Marya. So basically, this is the beginning of the show. This is how it starts. I want to jump right in. So big events like World Cup, Formula One, everyone sees those events as a celebration of some kind, with people coming together and experiencing this cool thing together, right? But there's this underlying kind of hidden economy that you're very familiar with. So why don't you give us, the listeners, a little more view on what happens behind the scenes and as like a dark side of this. Yeah.
When you look at something major, like a World Cup, it seems like, it's the World Cup. It's like, oh, you put it on the TV. Oh, you follow your team member. Oh, it's exciting. Oh, it's parties. There's no question that if you take 2 seconds to just look at the bigger picture, everything that's involved, it's a huge, major production. Yeah. And there's major business behind it. And there's nothing wrong with major business. We just have to make sure that there are checks and balances, that civil society puts checks and balances, not just depending on governments, put checks and balances on how things pan out. And, human trafficking, they say, is a $32 billion business. I'm sure it's more, $240 million in the United States. I think what any one human being forced, coerced, shamed, manipulated into labor is one too many. So that's every single time. It's priceless. And so, I don't know. I guess infinity is the real number. Yeah. I'm excited about supporting and working with people who care about the positive and saying the negative at the same time, and seeing what we can do together to diminish or combat or eradicate the things that shouldn't be there.
Hey, by the way, if you've been enjoying this conversation and you're thinking about starting your own show, my team and I specialize in exactly that. Our podcast agency have been producing this and many other amazing shows for our clients. And so to help you get started, we put together a handy podcast starter guide that walks you through all of the steps that you need to start and grow your show. You can find the link in the show notes, or you can just reach out to us if you need any help turning your podcast ideas into reality. All right, now back to the show. Could you talk like specifics of maybe giving examples of what usually happens behind the scenes that you're trying to prevent, maybe dynamics, major players, what happens? Like, because I'm sure most people have no idea,
So to pick on the World Cup, to pick on sports, to pick on male sports especially. So there's several things that come into play. One, there's a lot of money being moved. Second, there's a lot of entertainment value. Third, there tends to be a lot of what I don't see as real masculinity. I mean, my dad, my best friend, my brother, my other best friend, there are all kinds of things, to make a real man or a real woman or a real, however you identify their most fulfilled self, does not include so many of the things that have been classically called masculine, right? Oh, come on, boys will be boys. This is how we are. Of course, guys have needs. This is, I deserve it. I work so hard. This is a de-stressor. Oh, aren't they going to love being around me if I'm the one who's throwing the money around? Actually, I don't think that's very, what I call
masculine.
Really, the beautiful masculinity and true power.
It's unconscious
but it's marketed It's marketed like hell and really, really well. And we're all susceptible to marketing, very susceptible to marketing. And when you've got long traditions of marketing and when you've got a huge economic vested interest in them getting to you, boy, there is a lot of pressure. So around something like a Super Bowl, something like an Orange Bowl, F1, World Cup, there are a lot of opportunities for people to go in and make, especially men, sitting ducks, really, to their marketing, and are very good at hiding the very deep cruelties, things that would creep you out if you were sitting in a movie theater. There's so many men who are participating in this economy who are regular, most of the time they're good guys. Ignorance is not bliss. It's not right. I really don't believe in sin or castigation personally myself, but I do have a strong spiritual background, and that's not pearly gates stuff, gentlemen. Just because you say you're sorry, it's not going to do it. We need to bring things out into the light. We need to talk about them. We got to call things what they are. And whether it's through heart and caring and seeing the humanity in one another, which I think is probably the biggest part. I do believe that culture leads all the way to the other end of the gamut, which is true castigation in this lifetime, right? It is a crime. It is, if you don't care enough to find out why that woman pretends like she's smiling at you, but she was, raped when she was 4.5 and got into this part of, her belief system that's all that, she was good for. I know I'm jumping around a little bit, but it's all very true. We have to say that these things happen, understand that we're sitting ducks, see each other as human, band together so all the different networks can speak the languages, communicate with the people in their networks and their circles. And then when that doesn't work, bring in the cops.
And so what is the main, is it prostitution? You can put that as a big bucket, or what other human trafficking patterns that are happening?
It's really fascinating because I've learned so much in the 15, 16 years that I've been really involved in the freedom from violence movement. Nothing is ever exactly what you think it is. Just like, being a filmmaker, it's not exactly what you thought it was until you get into filmmaking and you start learning from other filmmakers. When you are learning from people who have finally identified themselves as trafficked, you find smart, savvy people who might not have identified that they were even being trafficked until 7, 8 years out of when they got out of prostitution, when they got out of the business, because the brainwashing and the Stockholm syndromes and the rewiring of the neural patterns, what happens to you when you're being undercut, physical abuse, drug addiction, verbal abuse, psychological abuse, a lot of economic abuse, a lot of lack of control. When you've been cut, 1,000 cuts. And so that autonomy and ability to run your own life has even been there. It's kind of easier to say prostitution. That was the oldest business in the book, which really means survival sex, or people, not being able to see another way of surviving. But it's really quite complex. So I think it's more about you can call it prostitution, you can call it human trafficking, but there are so many different shades within that. Whatever it is, it's a lack of seeing the humanity usually in one another. I have to put a pause and say that I'm not a moralist by nature, and I know a couple of women who are in the sex workers movement, who I have create dialogues with and respect. Once again, you have to listen and learn from people who are in lived experience.
Yeah.
The vast majority, the hundreds of men and women and folks who are fluid in their identities have told me again and again, it's been abuse. It's been really god-awful.
Yeah.
God-awful.
And over time, has it gone worse, would you say?
There are different takes on that. I think we're in a really bad time right now because of the insensitivities in all kinds of commerce and all kinds of ways of filtering what's real and what's not real.
Yeah.
I think a long time ago, it was worse because it was so easy to hide, right? It could be a stepfather trafficking their stepson or their stepdaughter. It could be an auntie. It could be uncles. It could be a cultural. It could be a coach. It could be somebody. And since nobody was questioning anybody who was in power and there was no light shine on, then this has always been around. The abuse of power. I actually personally don't think it's so much about sensuality. I really think it's more about insecurity and about power that makes people traffic one another or exploit is even a much better word. And by allowing oneself to harden enough to really see another's body and psyche as a commodity. For me, that's real exploitation. That has always existed, and often it's people who've been wounded and then they wound somebody else, and a lot of those chains. But then I think things started to get better because people were coming together and saying, actually, silence is complicity. Actually, we do need to look. And now it only takes one person to be able to help somebody to get out. If once you're looking at a social services structure that is decent. So I think things started to get better. And then now, like everything, I think society is in a quick catch up trying to figure out how we figure out who we are within current accelerated contexts. And that definitely applies to anything commercial and people are being taken. I'll add to that just the marketing behind the whole porn industry. Again, I'm not a moralist. I'm not into, I think it's beautiful that everybody expresses themselves differently, sexually, sensually. I've no judgment for true consent. So all of that said, most of us we're completely snowed. And if you're cool, if you're a real guy, you hyper consume porn, so many of the people I know, we've been able to ask our kids or kids of kids or studies, people are being desensitized so early, way before they've had any opportunity to make their own mistakes about intimacy. And like, well, how can I tell if he or she or they or it really like me? How do I, build those relationships when it's just you and a screen? We're not giving anybody a chance. Sad.
Yeah. And could you speak about the whole kind of like economy, underground economy, let's say, for big events like World Cup, there are all kinds of new vendors, new people just moving into that city together with the human traffickers. Are you familiar with their ways of operating, organizing? I don't know, like there has to be a whole orchestration. There are probably hundreds of people who are being brought into those new spots and Are you familiar with that?
Yes. So the labor economy is one. A lot of folks who are privately hiring nannies, babysitters, yard people, all that kind of stuff. We need to shine a bright light on what's right and wrong within those practices, and that you could spend hours. I can introduce you to people who can talk to you for hours about how we could be doing those kinds of things better. Of course, there are all kinds of amazing people, like the person who I just left with a big, huge hug, helped me to raise my daughter, and we have a beautiful, ethical, and open human relationship and economic relationship and legal relationship. But but she'd had a really bad experience with somebody else who, because they brought her from somewhere, thought they owned her, right? So that is a kind of thing that happens in a small. That can happen. Then blow that up. I think that's one of the easier ones to understand. Then blow it up into a slightly larger business and a slightly larger business and a slightly larger business. And the next thing you know, there are nurseries here in Homestead who supply most of the beautiful houseplants that we think are so great from majors who have all kinds of labor trafficking there. And that's constructing side buildings and side businesses. All those side businesses go around. So that's in labor trafficking. There's quite a bit. Wherever there's no light shine on labor trafficking, exploitation, sexual exploitation, and physical exploitation happen a lot. And then you go to the obvious stuff. The big parties. One of the people that I serve on her board, there's an amazing, brilliant survivor champion leader, Dr. Brooke Bella, who has an organization that was called More to Life, now it's More to Living, just a little bit updated branding and clear to not confuse with other orgs. And she has a story that's hers to tell, obviously, but because she tells it publicly and because I'm on her advisory board, I can share a quick synopsis. She was abused by somebody who is a friend of the family so much that they were considered extended family, didn't feel she's listened to or would be heard. So she ran away with her best friend who had also been abused. These are these are young girls. Had the classic thing happen to them. Brother, sisters came to them on the street. You're not safe here. Are you hungry? Come have a burger. We'll help take care of you. Be safe. Horrific physical abuse, horrific emotional abuse, drug addiction, forcing drugs in them, et cetera, et cetera. And very shortly after that, she was dancing at parties, executive parties, sports-related parties, the whole, look at that kind of Epstein kind of poster child yuck. That is such a thing. That is such a thing. And it's big business. And that's not, this girl's working her way through school.
Right.
When it's true, no judgment. In my personal experience of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours learning from survivor leaders, that's a very rare exception.
Okay, and so now if we focus on the solution, and your Women's Fund is one of the solutions to that. So talk about how you guys tackle this problem. I
always say that the Women's Fund is in the gaps and needs business. So all we exist for is to leverage resources on behalf of women and girls, because we put that lens on, because you have to look at that lens. But that's not the only lens. We work really closely with people who work with people from all sexualities. There's not everything that we do, we believe, elevates all of society. And thus, families, guys, however you identify, very, very much. There's a huge gap in need in coordination of caring individuals. There are lots of folks in the faith-based community who care. They might see it in one way. There are people from shelters. There are folks from businesses, hotel industries, truckers against trafficking. There's so many different people who do care. They're good people everywhere. But by not working together, everything falls through the cracks. The beautiful lights that you have on to illuminate your studio here are in a grid, right? It looks like almost like a grid that you'd put over a grill in the street. That's basically what it's like when all of these little squares of all these different folks are working together, but it falls right between when we're not coordinated. So with the official Stop Sex Trafficking campaign for the Super Bowl, Women's Fund was able to work with the state attorney's office, Catherine Fernandez-Rondel, the mayor's office, currently Daniela Vincaba, so many amazing folks to say, let's get everybody together. So we are the official convener I consider us Switzerland. I'm not the boss of anybody, nor do I want to be. We are offering people the opportunity to have coordination from these infrastructures that can make a difference. Because if you see somebody that you think is getting trafficked, I don't want you to run in there, but I want you to call the number.
Right.
I don't want you to get hurt, and I don't want that person who you think might be getting trafficked getting hurt either. You need to go to the professionals, people who are trauma-informed, the state attorneys folks, the domestic violence courts, the human trafficking courts, the mayor's office. But you wouldn't know that phone number to call, nor would you feel empowered to do it if you weren't in contact. So by the time we ended with the end of the Super Bowl campaign, we had created #OneTeam, which means let's opt in together. And we had over 100 organizations. This time with No Human Trafficking on the Road to FIFA, which includes Orange Bowls, Formula One. I think we'll be close to 200 organizations, and we're even more organized. What are you saying? That we are going to agree that we're stronger when we work together.
Yeah.
That we are going to utilize the same public awareness campaigns. It could be in Haitian Creole, it could be in Spanish, it could be in English. It could be in a flyer that you hand out. It could be a sticker. It can be on the big billboard. But we're or in a newsletter or on Creole radio. But we are going to disseminate these same ideas, same calls to action. We're going to agree that knowing the signs is important for everyone. Whether you work at a 7-Eleven and are likely to have runaways or people coming in to use the bathroom, or by the hour motel, or if you're working at the Ritz, or if you're working at, wherever that's important for all of us to understand and to know the signs. It's really important that we all come together and we give a consistent message outside. If the 180 some organizations that are all sharing this information are able to touch, say, 70% of Miami, right? In some way, it's highly probable that some 70% of Miamians are exposed to the fact that more than 50% of the folks who are trafficked, more like 60 or 70, tend to be local, tend to be somebody who might be sitting next to your kid in school. That might be that person who used to show up for Girl Scouts and they don't show up anymore. Might be somebody who's in your church, might be somebody who's coming into your clinic, somebody who's coming into your nail salon, hair salon, somebody who's, so with that, we do feel like a huge difference will be made. We have formed a committee of survivor-led and trauma-informed folks who really work in the day-to-day to help inform the public awareness campaigns. So in the old days, it used to be, the girl with duct tape kidnapped on a street. That's very, very rare. It happens once in a blue moon. It's much more likely that it's some guy who's been hitting on you for a long time, knows you're lonely, knows that your dad left, knows that your stepmother is mean, knows that you're jealous that you don't have what your other friends have. Somebody's feeling isolated, has been working on you and grooming you, and then all of a sudden your boyfriend, and then you have to do this for me, and then okay, if you really love me and if you care, and we can't be independent, and if not, and now I know where your family lives, and I'm going to do this to them if you don't do what I need to do. Or it might be that your kid is getting groomed very, very easily on some kind of a chat line, and is invited then to go off the chat line, thinks that they're chatting with somebody else, shares a picture or something. And there's so many things we could do. There's a great free tech company called Parasol that's made from tech leaders and survivors of human trafficking who can help you figure out what to do if you've been victimized, if there's some kind of online exploitation. The state attorneys and other hotline numbers are right there, and somebody's The state attorney's victims advocate, they're gonna pick up that phone.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot that you could do. And if we all work together and hashtag one team, people will know what to do and they'll be able to act. And hopefully we'll make a real difference in that way. And then the last thing I think I'd say about human trafficking is just the power of humanity, the understanding that, the boys will be boys and all that kind of stuff just isn't true. That you don't make somebody become a man because you take them to a lap dance. The more we humanize one another and the more real we are and the more we understand that we are, there's a spirit inside that body. I think that's the only way that we'll accelerate getting to the bottom, because the business pressure is big. The market, it's so lucrative. They're going to keep on marketing and they'll keep killing people off or ruining more and more lives. That economic pressure is never going away. I think it's the spiritual pressure that is going to be faster to diminish, and hopefully when Interplanetary Day extinguish this kind of exploitation.
Totally.
We don't need it. Old. Let's put that in the past.
Yeah. So raising awareness is kind of the main method how you tackle this problem. Is the policy plays a role here, like working with policymakers?
I mean, that's what we do. But I'll get calls from people all the time. Like, I think somebody's coming to my clinic. Tell me where it is who can I call and what do I need to know? So people will call us for direct things as well. Prevention, education, direction to services, and then making sure that things are funded. Because once you've let somebody be abused, society, once all of us allow that person to be exploited, it's expensive. And they deserve support. You've ruined somebody's capacity and to get people healed and get into a position where they can be contributing once again and believing that they can. So there are lots. It's a very complex ecosystem and it's expensive. And as social services, we need them. And we have to fight for it all the time. I mean, this last budget hearing for the county, Lotus House, which has an amazing service for women and kids who've experienced homelessness, they were ready to take away the funding for those 50 domestic violence beds. There are all kinds of people who cannot leave a situation because there's no place to go. It's day in and day out advocacy. And we shouldn't be. We should be, I don't know, sending flowers and gratitude and showing up to give hugs to the people who provide these services instead of making them come and beg for funds. They're doing society's work.
On the awareness side, what kind of language? Because you kind of have to be like very clear and concise because attention is very limited. And if you got a little bit of it, this is your moment to tell that this is happening. How do you communicate that in a short amount of like a booklet format, like a few phrases? How do you do that?
On the billboards, it's eight words or less. It's not a fairy tale. That's what the survivor leaders said. Because many people were being recruited. You're too cute to work at McDonald's. You need to come work this Super Bowl party with me and just have fun. Or I'm a rap producer. Come and be in my video. It's not a fairy tale. If it looks too good to be true, it is too good to be true.
And in what places... Personally, I don't, maybe that's not the lens I look at the world. I don't quite see messages like that and like around, like how do you touch most people?
It's not just me. It's a lot of other people.
Yeah, you mentioned 100 organizations.
You will see them probably now since we've been talking about it.
Yeah,
You probably
I'm sure I will, yeah.
You probably will. There will be billboards up in January, February, and May. There'll be a lot of focus because of these big events. But you'll see it in all the bathrooms at Miami International Airport. You'll see American Airlines will have it's a penalty when PSAs. You will hear more and more, and you do periodically hear more and more stories on the radio. If you look at, all the Epstein, you might not read the Epstein articles and stuff right now because you think you've seen so much. Yeah. But there are all kinds of deep, there are all kinds of great information around. It's once you start looking, then
it's there.
There are economic statistics. There are white collar crime statistics. There are lots of personal stories, documentaries. Yeah, it's around.
And how do you enable? Do you optimize for enablement of those who notice, like to act?
Yes.
Like, how do you do that?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, I used to do trainings myself. It's much better to have the state attorney's office. It's a penalty. Christie House. There are a lot of great organizations that are going in and doing massive training. So, hotel association, big time. Restaurant and lodging, big time. We go out with an organization called In Our Backyard every time there's a major sports event, and we go with mugshots of kids who've run away, because within 36 hours, the vast majority of runaways are being pushed into exploitation because you're sitting ducks. So there's a lot of concrete work that goes on. Then working with educators, working with guidance counselors when there's starts to be more truancy within the school systems, and that includes the magnet programs. And then there are a lot of other wonderful organizations that don't look necessarily like they're working on human trafficking.
Yeah.
Most people don't identify right away. They'll be looking for housing or food or clothing or other basic necessities. So there should be no wrong door.
And are you familiar with I'm sure you are, some statistics around how many people estimated to be a victim of human trafficking? And out of those who been identified or self-identified, also how many of them return by, like, what happens to them? Like,
so statistic just from last week, less than 1%, about 1% of kids will return once they've been trafficked because people become so damaged.
Yeah.
And the really clear message, if you want to get something stuck with you, it's more lucrative to exploit somebody who's underage.
Yeah.
So under the age of 18, easier to market, easier to sell, and that is a real crime. So you're going to jail if you have sex with a minor, and everybody should. So whether it's that carrot or that stick, don't get into this because it's not a fairy tale whether you're buying or you're selling.
Yeah.
And if you're buying, it's against the law. And here in the state of Florida, they haven't done it yet, but they have all the right in the world to take that picture and your mugshot and put it up there on a billboard and say, hey, so your boss, your church group, your daughter.
Yeah.
You can see, and who knows, if things don't diminish, I'm not, that tactic doesn't excite me at all. But there's a point where you're like, whatever it takes.
Right.
Whatever it takes. You know, the Women's Fund does so many things. We're famous, and that's why you invited me today, is to talk about the human trafficking. But I find that most of the work that we do is much more important because it's the prevention by giving people a society where women and girls are set up to truly thrive and be at their best. We know that human trafficking and domestic violence can happen to anybody in any economic circumstance.
Yeah.
But you're more vulnerable if you don't have a personal financial independence. And so that could be that you're in a higher echelon of society, but you don't have control of your own finances. So working on finances, working on self-esteem, working on windows of vulnerability, that that makes all the difference, because the more everybody's individual and less exploitable, the better. And that's where I think we can make all the difference. We have a lot of different ways to show that inequity is still rampant and that there's so much we can do about it. We do a gender equity index and a gender equity dashboard, all kinds of metrics. So what are the facts? And the facts are that pay equity and access to healthcare and access to hegemony and what you want to do, a lot of those things, we're so far from getting them fixed. So let's do them. Let's just roll up our sleeves and get them done.
And speaking of the demand side of this equation, is there like a common denominator? Maybe there's a way to target those the demand side of things, right? Like, how do you? Is there a common denominator there?
Yes, that none of us is going to end. If the majority of exploitation is being done by men, it's clearly lots and lots of men, a critical mass of men have got to decide, okay, I've seen it. Now I'm going to look a little bit more. I'm convinced it's right. And if you do look, if you're honest with yourself, you're going to see that most of it is pretty grotesque exploitation. At least the roots are. And that's the only way things are going to flip around. So there are amazing people who talk about this. One of my favorite, we have these monthly impact collaboratives where we do a webinar, what you need to know, what you can do to support women and girls in our community. So last January, we had Truckers Against Trafficking basically do a takeover. And it's terrific because there's so many people in that industry who are seeing exploitation day in and day out, whether it's at truck stops or whether it's track houses, all kinds of awful stuff. But they've taken it from just starting to understand, like a bunch of us good guys are seeing that when I go from Atlanta to Nova Scotia, I'm seeing all the stuff and I don't know what to do. So they started organizing so that they could help support and to prevent. But now they've taken it further and they're doing all these great trainings on toxic masculinity, porn addiction, sex addiction. So one of the gentlemen who works at Truckers Against Trafficking came with his huge story and how his life was basically ruined because he didn't have a life anymore. He lost his family and he lost his everything because he became so desensitized and it wasn't there. So they're amazing leaders out there. I would give it's hard for people to retain more than one. Truckers Against Trafficking is a great start.
Yeah. Wow. There is when you're not involved in it, and I mean, there's so much happening in the world. I haven't really I'm very much aware that it's happening, but that's not something I see per se somehow. We
can give you some links to know the signs, and it helps you to just become aware. Like once you've read something about what the best way is to approach a dog you don't know on the street, you all of a sudden start understanding and learning a lot about dogs. When you start understanding the signs could be, then you'll notice the opportunities that you might have to notice where you wouldn't have before. I mean, it might be a little bit less for your profession, but a lot of people's professions were out there. Whether you're a chiropractor or an ER, doctor, you're working in a pharmacy, if you're working in a 7-Eleven, if you're working at a Target, if you're working any kind of hotel industry, people who work in FPL, they're seeing things in and out, any kind of air conditioning repair people, service people, plumbers.
Makes sense, yeah.
If you're working at a McDonald's, at a drive-through, most of society has people coming in front of them that if you were paying any attention to the signs, you'd be like, oh my goodness. And coaches, PTA folks.
Totally.
Oh.
And how much, in your estimate, what percentage of people are aware and looking for it and maybe even reporting something like that? Yeah.
Very small.
Yeah. Is it because they're just busy living their lives and making money and just surviving? Is that the main reason? Or
I think most of it's because they haven't had the opportunity yet. I do think that's changing. Miami-Dade County, we have an amazing... We have a human trafficking task force. We have a South Florida human trafficking task force. The state attorney has one. We're bringing all these people together. And I do think that we're going to flip that soon. I think very few people do know now, but I think we'll be flipping it pretty fast because a lot of church groups, a lot of educators, a lot of folks in the Jackson, the Baptist, and these other major health systems are starting to do real trainings now. So I think we can flip it relatively quickly. But I think because you think it's not in front of you, you wouldn't. But once you understand that it could be a coach from in Key Biscayne from gymnastics or whatever, you could start anywhere. I think we can flip it. People of good conscience just deciding to pay attention. We're also working with an organization called 2 Million Children and with Christie House and the state attorney's office, and they're starting to do every 2 months an online webinar about how to keep your kids safe online, because that's where a lot of the grooming is going on now. So they're resources.
Beautiful, yeah. And then speaking of online and speaking of technology, how has technology been playing a role in either catching those cases, or on the other side, hiding the cases with, I don't know, some kind of cryptography and other things?
Yeah, the dark web and crypto have been rough. And I'm not an anti-crypto person, but crypto's got to figure it out because it's civil society and crypto's responsibility to figure it out because it's being used for bad.
And how?
Within technology, probably next to being in war, maybe the second or the third most traumatic profession in the world is going online and trying to find the bad guys. The horrors that are found by the folks, and I've spoken to people here directly who work in the Miami-Dade Police Department and in international organizations. It's extraordinary. It's hard to trace, but they're getting people all the time. They're getting people all the time, and it's really, really, really important work. Horrific. The PTSD of those people who've been forced to see again and again, especially child exploitation images again and again. That's hell on earth.
And maybe kind of like in closing, for a message for those who are listening, for those who will also be maybe experiencing big events like World Cup and F1, what can they do?
Don't be scared, be prepared. This is our country. These are our bodies. These are our kids. These are our families. Take over. Look for the Stop Sex Trafficking campaigns. Do a quick Google. Look, state attorney's office or the domestic violence court. Anything you want. Come to the Women's Fund. We will point you in the right direction and stand up. So whether it's around the table with your guy friends, right? And stopping exploitation before that turns into the entertainment, or when you see somebody stumbling down the street and she looks young and inappropriately dressed and she's looking down, she's not looking you in the eyes and she doesn't look like she has her own, she's being pushed by somebody else, You just call 911. You take a little shot. You're like, this is what I saw. Might be nothing, not really my business.
Yeah.
But I've been informed and understanding more and more about human trafficking, and I'd like you to check it out. And they want you to. The majority of law enforcement want to know. And the more we support law enforcement to have trauma-informed folks, more that we support the state attorney's office and her human trafficking drop-off place where you can treat everybody like humans. Once we say yes to seeing it, yes to knowing the signs, and yes to supporting those people who need to go out and combat it, we're doing the great things as society.
Yeah, I was going to ask, like, if there a phone number to call. You said 911 is so people just can call that if they see anything.
It's the easiest. And ask them, say, can you get this to the state attorneys, to the human trafficking specialists?
Yeah.
There's a 305 fixed stop, which is the state attorney's number. So if 305 and then the digits, right? But it's fixed stop. And you might remember that, but don't not do anything just because you don't remember. You can say, 911, I'm driving. It's this corner of this and this.
Yeah.
I pulled over to the side. This person, she's falling down. They're pushing her into a car. I took a picture of this little license plate. I have no idea.
Yeah.
But I understand that you all want to know.
That's useful, yeah.
Super useful. Restaurants, all the time.
And so, the show, it's Human Future, and one of the intentions is to talk about desirable versions of human future. And so paint to me a future that you're contributing to after resolving all of this big issues like we're having. What kind of future are you contributing into?
Well, I hope we're contributing into the present of more and more people being present, right? What do we need to know? What can we do? Oh, now that we saw it, let's do something about it. Life is full of teeny tiny steps. And when a lot of people are stepping together, we fly forward. I have such clarity that just because something's been crappy before does not have to be crappy tomorrow. It's just we get numb. And as soon as we give ourselves permission to have our senses back up, we can fast. I believe that, here in Miami-Dade, there's such amazing people. And there's so much abundance. And there's so many places that you can plug in to fuel that next step getting done. That this is an explosively burgeoning place of opportunity. Great things we have, great needs, and great people who can help you get things done. So whether it's the Women's Fund or the Y or Guitars Over Guns or Leap, who works with women who were virtually all horrifically abused and then ended up being incarcerated for something. Whether you're going shopping at Dragonfly Thrift or Lotus House Thrift, there's so much that you can do. So I think we're building a civil society where we talk about stuff and don't get depressed. We're like, okay, I know that one resonates with me. I can do something about that one.
Yeah, beautiful.
I say yes. Be a yes person.
In closing, is there any other messages that you would like to share in this format? It doesn't have to be anything. You can just say, I've shared it all. But in closing, if you wanted to, or maybe promote any current projects you're working on to point people to anything of that kind.
Do invite everyone to come to womensfundmiami.org. I think we're a very exciting place. I always say it's your women's fund. That includes men, that includes male allies, that we're very, very inclusive because there's a lot you need to know and a lot that you could do. So whether it's looking at the public awareness campaigns where I need to know, or you want to look at those impact collaboratives, and you will see something every month. There's a webinar and a little bit less than an hour of something interesting that you didn't know about or you didn't really understand, and tools for you to do something to improve your society. I always say, I care about the Bay. I really care about the water quality. I care about the health of the reefs, but I can't pay attention all day long every day. I'm busy.
Yeah.
So I love Miami Waterkeeper. They're keeping an eye on the Bay, and I know a lot because I can just see, what do I need to know, what I can do. That's how the Women's Fund is, and there's almost a place for everybody to plug in and see what you need to know and what you can do. And community is key. And when you're hanging out with a bunch of other cool people, whether it's on a webinar or an event, you can see what you can do. And you can believe that there's a lot that you can do. And you can have some serious fun for serious causes all along the way. So I invite people to not wait. Show up, come, and maybe we'll connect you to another organization. That's what's one of our favorite things to do.
Amazing. And that's about it. Thank you, Marya, again for sharing all of your knowledge and wisdom and shining the light on the very important, crucial topic of in our society. And for you listeners, I hope you find this conversation useful as well. And I'll see you on the next one.
Thank you.
Thank you. Beautiful.